Welcome to Echoes Untold, where history whispers and we listen. The vast depths of the ocean are filled with stories, some lost to time, others waiting to be rediscovered. Today, we journey into one of these untold tales, the USS R-12, a World War I-era submarine that met a tragic and mysterious fate in 1943. With 42 sailors lost in under 15 seconds, her sinking was one of the fastest and least understood submarine disasters of its time. For nearly 70 years, the wreckage of the USS R-12 lay undiscovered, hidden in the dark depths of the Atlantic. But thanks to modern deep-sea technology, researchers finally located her remains in 2010, offering long-awaited answers about what may have happened. Stay with us as we explore the history, the final moments, the search for the wreck, and the lasting legacy of the USS R-12. If you love uncovering lost history, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Now, let's begin. To understand the USS R-12, we first need to look at the R-class submarines, a group of vessels designed for a very different era of naval warfare. At the height of World War I, submarine technology was advancing rapidly. The US Navy recognized the growing need for a coastal defense fleet, so they commissioned 27 R-class submarines between 1918 and 1919. Unlike their larger, more advanced successors, R-class submarines were relatively small, with a surface displacement of about 569 tons and a submerged displacement of 680 tons. The USS R-12, SS-89, was among the last of this class, launched on August 15, 1918, and commissioned into service on September 23, 1919. She was 186 feet long, with a top speed of 13.5 knots on the surface and 10.5 knots when submerged. Initially assigned to patrol duties along the US East Coast, the R-12 and her sister submarines were used primarily for training and coastal operations. However, by the time the 1940s arrived, the R-class was becoming obsolete. While new submarines like the Gato class were being introduced, the aging R-class boats were relegated to secondary roles, such as training and patrol missions. By the start of World War II, the R-12 had found a new purpose, helping to train the next generation of American submariners. On the morning of June 12, 1943, the USS R-12 set out from Key West, Florida, for what should have been a routine training exercise. Aboard were 47 crew members, including her commanding officer, Lieutenant Commander Earl C. Stahl. The plan was simple: perform a test dive in preparation for an upcoming training mission. These dives were standard procedures, meant to ensure the submarine's systems were functioning properly. The R-12 moved into position about 5 miles off the Florida coast, and at 12:30 p.m., the order was given to submerge. But within moments, something went terribly wrong. As soon as the dive began, the forward battery compartment started flooding uncontrollably. Water rushed in at an alarming rate, and within seconds, the submarine lost all buoyancy. Unlike in battle, where submarines might take minutes or even hours to sink, the R-12 disappeared beneath the surface in just 15 seconds. The 5 men on the conning tower at the time, including Lieutenant Commander Stahl, were thrown into the open sea. Helpless, they watched as their vessel, along with 42 of their shipmates, vanished into the depths. Survivor Lieutenant George Sharp later described the moment: "It was so fast. One moment we were preparing to dive, the next the boat was gone. There was no time to react." Those 5 men were the only ones who survived. They were rescued a short time later by a nearby vessel. But for the rest of the crew, the sea became their final resting place. In the immediate aftermath, the US Navy launched an investigation to determine what had gone wrong. However, with no wreckage to examine and only a handful of survivors, answers were scarce. Several theories emerged: hull failure. Some experts speculated that corrosion or structural fatigue caused a sudden hull breach. The R-12 was over 20 years old by the time of the accident, and the Navy had already decommissioned other R-class submarines for similar reasons. Battery compartment flooding. A more widely accepted theory suggests that a valve or hatch failure in the forward battery compartment allowed water to enter the submarine. Given the rapid rate of flooding, this would explain why the crew had virtually no time to respond. Enemy action. Some early reports even questioned whether a German U-boat was operating in the area. However, there is no evidence to suggest an attack, and this theory was eventually dismissed. Ultimately, the case was left unsolved, and the R-12 remained missing for nearly 70 years. For decades, the location of the USS R-12 was a mystery. But in 2010, the wreck was finally found by Tim Taylor and his team as part of the Lost 52 project. Using advanced sonar and autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, the team discovered the R-12's remains sitting 600 feet below the surface. The submarine was largely intact, with no signs of an explosion or external attack, further supporting the theory of rapid flooding. This discovery provided closure to the families of the lost sailors, proving that their loved ones had not been forgotten. Today, the USS R-12 rests undisturbed on the ocean floor. She is not just a lost warship, she is a war grave, a silent memorial to the 42 men who went down with her. Her story is a reminder that not all casualties of war happen in battle. Many sailors lost their lives in training, preparing for missions they would never get to undertake. As we remember the USS R-12, we also honor the thousands of submariners who have risked, and sometimes lost, their lives beneath the waves. At Echoes Untold, we bring history's lost stories back to life. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the mystery of the USS R-12, don't forget to like this video, share it with fellow history lovers, leave a comment. What do you think caused the R-12 to sink? Subscribe to Echoes Untold and hit the bell icon so you never miss our next journey into the past. Echoes Untold, where history whispers and we listen. Fact check note: the details of the USS R-12 service, sinking, and discovery have been verified through sources including U.S. Naval History and Heritage Command, history.navy.mil, Lost 52 Project, lost52project.org.